Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel. This is my review for Hercules, which came out in 1997. It's once again directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, the same guys responsible for The Great Mouse Detective, Little Mermaid, and Aladdin. So the movie opens up on Krypton, Mount Olympus, as little Kal-El, Hercules, is born of Jor-El and Laura, Zeus and Hera. Yeah, you could tell that there's a lot of similarities between this movie right here and Superman, specifically Richard Donner's interpretation of Superman. But to actually be serious, it opens up with the birth of young Hercules on Mount Olympus. All of the gods are happy, especially his mother and father, Zeus and Hera. The only one who's not so happy though is Hades, because he wants to try to take over Mount Olympus and just take over everything like a typical villain would, but he's been shown the future where Hercules puts a stop to his evil plans. So Hades decides to have his two goons, Pain and Panic, kidnap Hercules, make him mortal, but they don't really go all the way with killing him because given these two characters, they just screwed it up. So Hercules is now living among the mortals, and once he finds out that he is the son of a god, he attempts to prove himself as a true hero so he can join his father and the rest of the Greek gods on Mount Olympus. And joining him on this adventure is a Pegasus, a 1940s femme fatale, and Danny DeVito as a centaur. This is one of the lesser Disney movies in the Renaissance that I watched a lot growing up, probably more than Hunchback of Notre Dame, although I don't think as much as next week's movie, but I remember loving it as a kid. And similar to Hunchback of Notre Dame, I rewatched this as an adult. This was the first time I've rewatched the movie in, I think, maybe over 20 years. Jesus Christ, I'm old. But rewatching it again, I don't feel as divided on the movie as I did with Hunchback of Notre Dame, but my feelings for this movie have definitely diminished. I will say this right off the bat about Hercules. It at least keeps one consistent tone. It's not concerned with being as serious or dark as Hunchback of Notre Dame was, because if you recall in Hunchback, anytime that movie tried to be lighthearted and have Jason Alexander be funny, it fell flat on its face. The overall tone with this movie is more in line with Aladdin, I'd say. And because of that, I'm not as harsh on the tone of this movie, but I gotta be honest, there are a lot of points where I found myself flat out annoyed by the tone. It's a fast movie, there's always something happening, it's never boring, it has this super hyperkinetic feel to it throughout 90% of the runtime, but that's almost a detriment to the movie because you don't really get much of a chance to breathe, and it's just so frantic and scatterbrained that it sometimes got hard for me to actually enjoy it. There are some good things about the movie, and the one thing that I still really like that I loved back then as a kid were all the fight scenes. I think the main reason I latched onto this movie was because seeing Hercules fight a bunch of giant monsters was pretty cool. I think the big highlight of the movie is the fight with the Hydra. And yeah, the Hydra is CGI, but it's a stylized CGI that blends well with the 2D animation, and features the most decapitations I've seen in any animated movie. In fact, I don't think there's an animated movie geared towards kids, I'll say that, that has this many decapitations, or any. I know there's animated movies out there that are not made for kids, that have a lot of beheadings in them, but in terms of American animation, you don't really see a whole lot, if any. And in addition to the fight scenes, I also really like the look of this movie. Some of the character designs and creature designs are really cool. And I even like some of the characters. I think mostly the side characters, because Rip Torn is Zeus, and just the way Rip Torn plays this god, it just feels so good, especially with the way this character is designed. A lot of people like James Woods as Hades, and despite how I feel about James Woods today, he really does a fantastic job as Hades. He's not one of the best Disney villains in my opinion, but he's certainly one of the most memorable. The way he talks, the way he just gets angry at the snap of a finger and lights on fire is really hilarious. Funny enough, my favorite character in the movie is actually Meg, voiced by Susan Egan, and she's not a Disney princess. She is, as I said earlier, a 1940s femme fatale, and that's not really me joking. The way the character looks, the way she acts, and the way Susan Egan voices her just screams 1940s. Like, she reminds me of Bette Davis, Lauren Bacall. In fact, Ron Clements and John Musker cite Barbara Stanwyck's performance in The Lady Eve as a big influence on this character. And even when you close your eyes, if you knew nothing about this film or this character, you would imagine that there was a 1940s screwball comedy playing on TV and not a Disney animated movie from the late 90s. And going back to the Superman comparison, there are some points where Meg does remind me of Lois Lane, and she ends up falling for the nice guy and the one who wants to be this big hero. And speaking of said hero, I don't think Hercules is that interesting of a protagonist. He's well-meaning and has good intentions, but his personality is just kinda like, I didn't really care for him all that much. Danny DeVito as Phil has his funny moments at points, and you can tell that this character was clearly influenced by Mickey from the Rocky films. But after a while, I kind of got annoyed at Danny DeVito. This is another case like with Jason Alexander, where they wanted to try to recreate what Robin Williams did with the genie in Aladdin. And while I think Danny DeVito works better here because the tone of Hercules is more consistent, it doesn't really work all the time. After a certain while, Danny DeVito just became the short, angry guy, and it got obnoxious. But that being said, he is nowhere as obnoxious as Hades' two henchmen, Pain and Panic, who are just a bunch of bumbling, cowardly idiots. And this is a weird situation because I actually had a Panic toy as a kid. I remember taking that toy with me everywhere I went. I guess it just comes down to the way he looks, because I really find these two characters obnoxious. And the last thing I have to say about the movie is that, much like with Hunchback and Pocahontas, it really had no reason to be a musical, except I think out of those three movies, this is probably the worst because I can't remember a single song. The catchiest song in the movie is Zero to Hero, but even then, I'd be hard-pressed to tell you what the lyrics are. Like, these songs just are not memorable at all. And I think it really does show that without Howard Ashman, Alan Menken just doesn't really know how to make iconic Disney songs. The magic of those earlier Renaissance films really did rely on Howard Ashman and Alan Rickman as a team, and also Tim Rice, who came in to finish the remainder of the songs for Aladdin. So it sounds like I've been more negative about this movie than positive, but I don't hate it. I don't have any strong anger towards it. And there's a lot that I like about it. Like I said, the action's fun, the designs are cool, I like some of the characters, but overall it's just kind of meh. It's a mess, but I know this movie is beloved by a lot of people, and unlike Hunchback of Notre Dame, it honestly doesn't confuse me why people enjoy this movie as much as they do. But that being said, I'm going to give it the same rating. Watch at your own risk. The Renaissance after The Lion King clearly went on a downward spiral, and 3 movies in a row that just are kind of mediocre at best. Well, I mean, it was fun while it lasted, like I said in my Pocahontas review. And there you go, that's my review for Hercules. Now, if you think that I'm just completely down on the Renaissance, you'd be wrong, because the next movie we're going to be talking about is Mulan. When I reviewed the remake from last year, I mentioned that I rewatched the animated movie right after seeing the remake. So this movie is more fresh in my mind than the last 3 films, and I'll tell you right now, I have very positive feelings about it. But we'll get to it next week. For now, I want to know what you guys think about Hercules. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this is the real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one. Hello everyone, I just wanted to say thank you all for watching my review for Hercules. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell button to get notifications. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, go check out my Twitch channel, and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.